My name is Anna, and I am 32 years old. Tonight, I am sitting alone in my small apartment. The lights are off, except for one lamp near the window. Outside, the city is still awake, but inside, everything feels quiet. Too quiet. Sometimes, silence can be loud. It brings back memories you try to forget. I helped him become better. I just didn't know it meant losing myself. I don't say this with anger. I don't even say it with tears anymore. I say it with a soft sadness, the kind that stays after the crying is over. The kind that teaches you lessons you never asked for. I met him when I was 27. He looked strong on the outside, but I could see the cracks. He was confused about his life, unsure of his future, and tired of failing. He smiled, but his eyes were heavy. He talked about big dreams, but his voice did not believe them yet. Other people saw his weakness and walked away. I saw his pain and I stayed. At that time, my life felt empty too. Helping him gave me purpose. When he talked about feeling useless, I told him he mattered. When he failed, I reminded him that failure was not the end. When he doubted himself, I became his voice of hope. It felt good to be needed. I told myself this was love. I told myself this was what strong women do. Slowly, I became his safe place. When the world felt hard, he came to me. When he felt small, I made him feel big. When he wanted to give up, I held him together. I listened more than I spoke. I encouraged him when no one clapped for him. I believed in his dreams before they were real. I stayed when others said, "It's not worth it." I remember thinking, if I love him enough, he will heal. I thought love meant staying, no matter the cost. But love started to feel heavy. He leaned on me more each day, and I carried his fears like they were my own. I was tired, but I didn't say anything. I didn't want to be another person who left. While he was growing stronger, I was growing quieter. At first, the sacrifices were small. I stayed up late to listen to his worries. I counseled plans to support his goals. I put my dreams on pause because his felt more important. I told myself it was temporary. I told myself, when he is better, we will be happy. But temporary became normal. I stopped resting. I stopped asking for help. I stopped talking about my own fears. When I felt tired, I smiled. When I felt lonely, I stayed quiet. Sometimes, I even lost my dignity. I accepted words that hurt. I forgave apologies that never changed. I told myself love meant patience. The warning signs were there. I just didn't want to see them. Then, something changed. He started to believe in himself. His voice became confident. His steps became firm. People began to notice him. They praised him. They invited him. They listened to him. I watched him grow and I was proud. I stood in the background, smiling, clapping silently. I told myself, this is what I worked for. But while his light grew brighter, I felt myself fading. People asked about him, not me. He talked about his future, not ours. He needed my support less and less. I didn't know who I was without being his strength. The distance didn't come suddenly. It arrived slowly, like a cold night. Our conversations became shorter. His replies became slower. His eyes were often somewhere else. When I talked about my day, he listened but not deeply. He no longer needed me the way he once did. And for the first time, I asked myself a question that scared me. If he doesn't need me, who am I? I started to feel invisible, replaceable, small. I didn't know yet that this was the beginning of the end. I only knew that something precious was slipping away, and I was too tired to hold it alone. The day he left was not loud. There was no shouting, no broken glass, no big final scene like in the movies. It was almost worse than that, because it was calm. He sat across from me with a face that looked tired, but also decided. His voice was soft, like he wanted to be kind, like kindness could make it hurt less. He said he needed to move forward. He didn't ask me to come. For a moment, I didn't understand. I looked at him, waiting for the rest of the sentence. Waiting for him to say, "With you," waiting for him to smile and tell me he was just scared. But the rest never came. He stood up, picked up his bag, and walked to the door. Before he left, he paused like he wanted to say something important. Then he only said, "Thank you for everything." And then he was gone. I remember the sound of the door closing. Not a slam, just a simple click. A small sound that split my life in two. The days after that felt unreal. I woke up and reached for my phone, like I always did. But there were no messages, no missed calls, no good morning, no "Are you okay?" Nothing. My home felt different without him, even though he never lived there. It was like his absence had weight, like the air itself was heavier. I made coffee and forgot to drink it. I washed dishes that were already clean. I turned on the TV just to hear a voice, then turned it off because it didn't feel real. Before, my life had been full of noises, plans, his problems, his dreams, his fears. I was always busy being the person he needed. Now, there was only silence. And in that silence, I started to hear my own thoughts. They were not kind. At first, I blamed myself for everything. I asked the same questions again and again, like they might change if I repeated them enough. Was I too supportive? Was I too quiet? Was I not beautiful enough? Not interesting enough? Not strong enough? I replayed every moment of our relationship like a movie I couldn't turn off. I remembered the times I stayed when I was tired, the times I forgave him quickly, the times I smiled when I wanted to cry. And still, he left. I felt replaceable, like I was only a bridge, something he used to cross the river, then left behind. When someone leaves, we often blame ourselves first. I didn't sleep well. I barely ate. Some days, I stayed in bed and stared at the ceiling for hours. My heart felt embarrassed, like it had trusted the wrong person. And my mind felt angry, not only at him, but at me. Because deep inside, I knew something painful. I had loved him so much that I forgot to love myself. Healing did not come like a miracle. It came slowly, in small moments. One evening, I stood in front of the bathroom mirror. I looked at my face, my tired eyes, my pale skin, my quiet sadness. And I asked myself a different question. Not, why did he leave? But, why did I stay so long? That question changed everything. I started to remember who I was before him. I remembered that I used to laugh more. I used to dream. I used to make plans that had nothing to do with saving someone else. And then I realized something that made me cry real tears, not the numb ones. I was valuable even before him. Helping him grow was not a mistake. But forgetting myself was. For the first time, I understood. I didn't lose him only. I lost myself, and now, I had to find her again. Choosing myself felt strange at first, like wearing new shoes that didn't fit yet. But I started small. I slept early without guilt. I ate real meals even when I didn't feel hungry. I took walks without music, just listening to my own breath. I also started setting boundaries. When people asked about him, I didn't pretend I was fine. I said, "We are not together anymore," and I let that sentence be enough. I stopped checking his social media. I stopped hoping for a message that would reopen the wound. Some nights were still hard. Sometimes I missed him so much that my chest hurt. But I began to notice something. Each time I chose myself, even in a small way, I felt a little stronger. It was like building a house brick by brick. Not for him, for me. With time, I started to see love differently. I used to think love meant sacrifice. I used to think love meant staying, no matter what. But real love should not require sacrifice. If you have to disappear for someone to shine, that is not love. That is slow emotional loss. I also learned something about strength. I used to think strength meant being patient, being loyal, being the person who never gives up. Now I know this truth. Strength is not staying. Strength is knowing when to walk away. Not because you hate them, but because you respect yourself. I won't lie and say I feel nothing now. Some memories still hurt. Some songs still bring him back. Some places still feel heavy. But I don't hate him. He taught me a lesson I didn't want but maybe I needed. He showed me what happens when love becomes your identity. When your worth becomes someone else's success. And even though he left, I did not stay broken. I began to heal. Not quickly, not perfectly, but honestly. Today, when I sit alone in the quiet, I don't feel empty the way I did before. I feel present. I feel like I am finally back inside my own life. I helped him become better. And after he left, I finally did too.